It is August the 10th, about 1:22 in the afternoon. My name is Bill Hurd, and it's my pleasure today to be the interviewer for Wilkes Oral History Project. And we have before us today Mrs. Lillie Barber. Hello, Ms. Barber. Before lunchtime, we interviewed Reverend Montreal Lowell. Do you know the gentleman?
You're saying Lowell. Could that be Howell?
You're correct. I misread it. It's Reverend Montreal Howell.
Yeah, I knew it, Montreal Howell.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you lived in Wilkes County all your life?
Yes, I have.
What part of the county, where were you born?
I was in the eastern part. It's near 115 Highway, so I would think that would be the eastern part of the county.
Are you from a small family or a large family?
I did a large family. There were 9 children in my family.
Reverend Howell talked about growing up in the boomer community here in Wilkes County among many children. I think he talked about 14 or so.
I see.
And about his experiences growing up and how each child had responsibilities, that you lived life very close to home because it was so hard to go anywhere else. It took so long. Are your experiences the same?
I would think so. Because we lived, I guess you use the expression hollering distance, and I guess it was just that everybody had large families and children played together, and I guess there was no need to really go farther than maybe next door or in hollering distance.
Much different today, isn't it?
Right.
Do you remember things growing up that you treasure today? Memories, ways of living that are no longer around? Things that you remember to be the good old days?
Yes. Well, you don't see it anywhere. I don't know whether it's the times, and the times have changed, and where growing up, and part of what we did at home was work, but having to do it all the while, we made a game out of it, or it was rather playful. It didn't seem so hard. But today, children don't have that work to do, so it isn't there, and they've got time to do everything else.
Reverend Howell talked a lot about the same thing, that everyone had a responsibility.
Right.
Something you realized must get done. Life on the farm, all the work can't wait till the very last minute.
Right.
You can't cram. You can't cram for harvesting a field.
Right.
It must be done every day. Is this good discipline? Is this a good thing to learn early?
I would think so. I would think so. And you just knew it was to be done, and you couldn't get around it. And usually we knew when we finished there was always that playtime. So, you didn't really matter about doing the work.
That's good. Talk about your schooling, where you went to school and how far you progressed in education.
Let's see, now when I began school, Lincoln Heights was opening that year. And so all my schooling was at Lincoln Heights, and I think that was about walking distance about 2.5 miles from where I live.
What happened when the school closed because it snowed?
It didn't close.
You still walk?
Sure. Well, see, we didn't have telephones to call around and say there's no school. And it just so happened, we could look and see the school even though we were that far. And if we saw smoke coming out of the chimney, we knew the janitor was there. And of course, our parents, or Mama especially, didn't matter, because we wouldn't have stayed in home anyway. So she just helped us to put on boots or wrap papers or something around over our shoes, and we went on to school. And that was usually enough for one class there in walking distance, if you can call 2.5 miles walking distance.
That's a good hike by today's
Absolutely.
standards. A good stretch of the legs.
Yeah.
What was the curriculum? What subjects did you study at Lincoln Heights?
Well, I can remember there was always math, English, spelling, history. Math, English, spelling, history. Reading.
Were there courses in everyday skills, things that could be used later in life? Housekeeping, sewing, woodworking for the...
When you reached high school, there was home economics and things like that, cooking.
Was Lincoln Heights a school all the way to high school?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do you remember the year in which you graduated?
37, yes.
1937. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you were a young woman in rural North Carolina.
Well, I turned 18 shortly after I graduated.
That's a young woman. So where did you go from there?
Well, I couldn't afford to go to college, so I just, got a job locally. I think my first job was working at the beauty shop, cleaning up and that.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know we're going to have a separate DVD, a pilot DVD just on Lincoln Heights.
Yes.
Ask her if she wouldn't mind sharing these stories with the teachers, maybe kind of once on a something like that.
Before we move on, let's concentrate for a minute or two, if you would, on Lincoln Heights itself, because we're doing a separate program about that school, a separate DVD. So reminisce for a minute, if you would, about Lincoln Heights, anything you remember significant from your time there, and teachers, perhaps, that especially influenced you while you went to school.
Yes, I would think so. Because I don't know, there would be teachers there, and I noticed that it wasn't done even after I got out of high school. At the end of every session, whether just before Christmas, that first semester or the second, there would always be a school closing program, and all of the children somehow or another participated, and there were always those teachers that helped with the plays, and you had to learn, a lot of parts and sing and dance and all like that. And at the end of the year, it was the same thing. Even that was before the graduation, but somehow they stopped that. Now that impressed me because I liked doing that. And let's see what else. And there were teachers there that took special interest in you, seeing that you did that, because so many of us didn't have things that we needed, just to go to school, and there were teachers who saw that we had that.
Very good. So it was a good experience.
Yes.
Did you marry in your life? Have you been married?
Have I married?
Yes.
Yes.
Talk about your courtship, if you would, please. Who was the young man?
Well, let's see, he was, maybe well known to some people, maybe not. The guy that worked at Red Cross Pharmacy for 35 years, George Barber.
Okay.
And it was a good marriage. We had 3 children. And of course we had some foster children too. So we were interested in the school. He was, I think, on the school committee at one time, and was interested in the football. I think he was on that committee. So, but we enjoyed it, and we supported it because of our children.
Think about the community of Wilkes County and how you've seen it grow over the years. What have you seen to be significant in the growth of Wilkes County, Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro? What has been important events you remember?
Is that in regards to the schooling or what?
School would be part of it, but just the community in general.
I've seen it grow. I don't know, it seems like everything has to a degree. I don't know if I could pick out any one thing.
Well, let's go in a different direction then. There have been, before the reservoir was built, the Yadkin River had a tendency to flood. And I believe there were one, perhaps two major floods in the area during the time you have lived here. Do you remember those events?
Sure.
Tell us a little about that, because I've not heard much about what it was like to live in an area that was likely to flood every once in a while. Was it a dangerous time?
Well, I think so. I didn't live too close to it. Was fascinated, came to it, to the sea, because I lived on the other side.
Yes.
But before that, there were people living in this area, right close, in here.
This would be
Right. And they had what they called the Army Hall. It was there, and that's what was carried on down. It just picked the Army Hall up, and they had a bridge where the original one was before you get to the prison camp. They have a new one under here.
Yes.
And the Army Hall hit on the water, floating, hit the bridge and carried it on down and located down somewhere on the curve. I never went to see it. But after that, all of the houses were moved that were here, and they were relocated in the Woodlawn area. But
it was a disaster, wasn't it?
I would think so, because no more houses were put, back there. I think that from that it went to a ballpark or something. So nobody lived there anymore.
Reverend Howell talks about remembering the flood and living out in Boomer, not far from the current location of the reservoir. And he remembers when it flooded, he saw this expanse of water. He said he saw the reservoir before there was a reservoir.
Oh,
It
yes.
flooded. I thought that was interesting.
Right.
And we talked with Reverend Howell a lot about his calling to the ministry and his time in churches, both here and in other places. What are your experiences with church and religion? Has that been a major influence in your life?
Oh, yes, it is. So much so, I guess we used to walk 4 or 5 miles, I guess, to Old Damascus. That's the one I attended. And of course, I live way up beyond New Damascus now. And the roads were dusty. We would have a good little white dresses going down the road, and here comes a car. And of course, it was a light shade of brown when we got there, but we left home special. But that didn't stop anybody. There were, I think, 2 or 3 automobiles, those that could afford automobiles. Then there were wagons, men with wagons. And sometimes they would stop, and if the children were ahead of the parents, they would climb on the back of the wagon and ride on down the road. But if it was, sometimes we just all walk along together. But I don't know if we missed too many Sundays unless it was bad weather. We walked and enjoyed it.
Very good. You talked about the first job you had, which was working at the beauty shop. What other jobs, what other professions, what other things have you done during your life?
Let's see. I had a course in nursing, nurse's aid and home nursing. And I worked some in that before I had, in the minute I finished my training, they had asked me to be a foster parent, and it had been, nearly a year, and I had forgotten all about it. So I went ahead and took this other training, going to do something else. This was after I had gotten married. So anyway, the day of graduation, which was on a Thursday, we graduated, and on Friday I got the call telling me they had my first foster child. And it was a newborn baby from the hospital, so that seemed to just knock that career in the head. But a month later, I got the second child, So, but the nursing information and all of that instruction I got seemed to help me out in that. So from that on, I've had foster children with me, and not only did I have mine, but they just stayed and wouldn't leave, so I adopted 2 of them. And but we've gotten along all right. And I don't think I tried working out anymore because I had enough to do it all.
Well, that becomes obvious now.
Right.
Babies at home are full-time work.
Right.
What caused you to become interested in the foster program, the foster parent program?
I don't know. I've always liked children. I had some of my own, and then I helped my sister and brother with their children. They would stay with me on occasions, but they would leave. But and then I think Social Service asked me if I was interested in keeping foster children. So that's why I was really into it.
With your nursing program that you went through,
Right.
you probably became a little bit familiar with the local hospital. And it's a bit unusual in that it's a hospital owned by the town. And through the years, things have occurred. How do you feel it served the community as an addition, providing medical help to the community? What's been your observations about the hospital?
About the hospital?
About the hospital, yes.
What, in regard to?
Is it a good hospital? Has it grown over the years? Has it provided adequate care to the community?
I think so. I seldom go.
That's good.
As a matter of fact, the last time I was there, they asked me the last time I was in the hospital. I couldn't think because it had been years and years and years and years. But everything was nice. It was real nice. And they asked you to write something once you leave, just how you felt about it, And one specific thing had caught my eye while I was there, and I would never have mentioned it had they not asked that. And the cleaning ladies were in one day, and I was just standing there, kind of on the side, and they had been all around dusting and everything, and went out. And I was turned toward the door, and as the lady went out, she closed the door, and she looked back in and peeped and waved at me. I said, even they cared. So I thought it was very nice, and I haven't heard anything other than it being every need, offering you things you didn't need or you really didn't want. You got the things that you really needed you didn't want. But it was nice being there.
And you only need a hospital when you really need a hospital, and I'm glad you haven't had need of one. Here in your middle years with obviously a wonderful life behind you and many more years in front of you. If a young person today is watching you on this video supplied to the school system,
Right.
and they're looking for guidance, looking for inspiration, what would you tell them? What are the important things that you know about that you would like to pass along to them to help make their future better?
I feel like they need to know really what they want, because so many times they're just out there and see something somebody else has or is doing, and they would like that. Perhaps it's not for them. And I think once they find out what it is, their interest in and what would carry them the farthest, I would tell them to go for that, find out what they want, and maybe zero in that person who is there, and ask them, head them on, not just anybody, but somebody who is already doing what they have in mind they want to do.
Very good. Mrs. Barber, we appreciate your time today, and thank you for being a part of the Wilkes Oral History Project. Your comments will be incorporated with many others that will become a living history of this area. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.